On an average day, can you tell us about a job or assignment you're asked?
I would say probably the most common thing that I do every day when I come in here for my job here is write news releases constantly. So I usually receive an assignment. Courtney Clark, who's the marketing manager here, will probably tell me something that happens. Like recently there was a faculty member that has a patent pending for something that she literally invented, and that's really good material, you know, to market Tri-C to the community. So what I do is I call her, try to get more information from her so I can explain it to the community, what's going on, why it's important to Tri-C, and I just write that out. And then we have a system instilled where I write the press release, news release. I kind of use the terms interchangeably, but I give it to Courtney, who's my manager. She kind of looks it over, makes sure I have everything in place, and then we send it to the district office of Tri-C, and they send it out to the community. We have contacts like with the Plain Dealer, the Sun newspapers, other miscellaneous magazines. Sometimes, you know, things get sent to specific trade publications if it's something very specific, but mostly, you know, just things that you would imagine we'd send it to, like the Plain Dealer, first and foremost.
What type of skills or knacks do you need to have for success in this job?
I would say that you have to be able to speak well and write well. Those are probably two of the foremost skills that I think would get you anywhere in any job. But of course, in PR, it's all about communication. So you have to make sure that you know what it is that you're talking about. You have to be curious too, because you have to, you know, work with people. I mean, you're writing about subject matter that maybe, I mean, I don't know anything about patents. We were talking about the faculty member that has the patent pending. I don't know anything about that, but I know which questions to ask. You know, you have to kind of put yourself in somebody else's shoes and looking at it. Well, why would I be interested in knowing something about this? So you have to be curious, and like I said, you have to be able to speak well and write well.
What led you to this career?
Well, I have a bachelor's in English, which is a little bit unusual, just because you can get a bachelor's in like PR or journalism or something like that, which I think would be a more traditional track when you're going into a field like this. But because mine was in English, I obviously knew how to write analytically and just knew how to write in general. And I thought, well, you know, at the time I didn't really want to go into teaching or doing anything like that, so I thought, well, what can I do to apply my communication skills? And I did some internships in PR, and now I'm here. Kind of led me to that. So it was really my work experience and not necessarily, you know, my degree that got me to
Can you
where
tell
I
us your most memorable moment or greatest achievement so far in your career?
I mean, I've only been here since the end of August, so I can't say that I've, you know, made necessarily like any big splash on campus yet, but I think what I like so much about being in this field, and particularly working in a college environment, is that it is so easy to work with everyone here. I mean, there's a system in place, and I think the best part about it is that you get to meet new people all the time, and you get to learn about new things all the time.
Is your pay scale satisfactory for the work you do?
I mean, your pay scale is always going to be commensurate or, you know, equal to whatever experience you have. So, I mean, realistically, you can't go into any job and expect to be, you know, to be getting paid what somebody in the field for 20 years would be getting paid. But yeah, I feel satisfied with what I'm making at this point. I mean, I hope 10 years from now that I'm making more. But, you know, that's just because, like I said, that kind of goes along with experience.
And inflation.
And inflation, that too, yeah. Well, we hope anyway.
What are some of the worst aspects of a career in this field?
You know, in this field, you kind of always have to be on your toes. You know, you don't really know what to expect on a daily basis. I mean, there are things that you're going to do sort of every day, and you know that you're going to have to write, but I mean, there's always unexpected things happening. Any company or, you know, anybody that you're ever going to work for, if you're in PR, there's always going to be something going on that you didn't exactly plan for. So you kind of have to be able to roll with it. And if you're
work on it like real quick.
Right, exactly. And if you're having a bad day, or you just don't feel like it, you know, that kind of stinks. And what are you going to do? You just kind of have to get over that. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, but every once in a while we all have bad days. So, in that respect, it can be kind of difficult, but you learn how to
Is this type of position more independent, or are superiors constantly keeping watch
I
of you?
don't personally. I've never really experienced having someone breathing down my neck, making sure that I'm doing everything a very particular way. I mean, I can't say that that's the same across the board because I think it might differ, for every person that you work for, but I would say generally you're pretty independent. I mean, someone's hired you because they know that you can write well and you can do this sort of job well, and you're basically left to your own devices. I mean, you work with people just because, if you're writing a press release about someone or about an event, you don't necessarily know about it, so you have to ask other people, but you don't necessarily have a boss that's making sure that you ask them questions in a certain way or anything like that. It's really the end product that matters.
What kind of college path should be taken for a career in this field, and what electives would be most beneficial?
Well, just because I did things sort of non-traditionally where, my background, as an English major was basically all, literature classes, but that helped me because, like I said, I had to write constantly. So I think the more you write, the better you know how to express yourself, obviously when you're speaking as well. So anything that you can do that will help you write better is key. And really where I'm at is because of the 2 internships that I did as well. So more so maybe than anything else you can do in terms of actual traditional classes would be to try and work in the fields. Hopefully get paid a little bit too, but that's not
almost
always
secondary.
Yeah, that is really almost secondary. It really helps to have some experience and to know, to show whoever your future employer is going to be, look, I was able to do this, this, and this while I was still in school, but I learned how these sort of things function. But, writing for your school paper, even, doing anything sort of journalism-based, I think really helps as well.
What are the most rewarding aspects of your job?
The most rewarding aspects of my job, probably being able to have, this enormous portfolio. I mean, sometimes when you're writing so much, it sort of doesn't necessarily seem mundane, but you wonder, how much impact you're really making. And then when you have this portfolio at the end of the year, you can look back and say, wow, not only did I personally learn about all of these things, and not only did I better myself because, I'm writing every day, but I have all of this work to show for it. I mean, it's really something to be able to say, the reason why this article was in this newspaper, the reason why this event was successful was because I contributed to it. I helped raise awareness for it.
What led you to this career?
I went to BW for my English major, and I have a master's in creative writing, and I did that at the University of North Carolina in Wilmington.
Someday I'd like to be a White House press secretary.
I think, it's funny because we've had that specific conversation in our office before. I don't know if any of you have ever watched The West Wing, but there is a woman on there. Her character's name is C.J. Craig, and she is like the ultimate White House press secretary. I mean, of course, she's like a fabrication. She's not real, but I think we all have dreams of doing that one day. Yeah, anybody would, I think, would love to be in that position. I mean, it's something to aspire to.
Where did you do your internships?
I did my first internship at Aspect Communications, and it was a PR firm actually in London, England. So I had some international experience. When I was at BW, I knew I wanted to study abroad, but I had kind of decided late, and I finished all of my general coursework, which is what people usually study abroad for, to get some of the core requirements out of the way. So I went to the study abroad office, and I said, well, what else can I do? So I did my internship in London. And then my second one, which was pretty recent, was at WHQR. It's a public radio station in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I was basically the PR department. I mean, it was a small radio station, but had a big presence in that small city. And really before I came along, they didn't really have much writing or anything on their website. They didn't really have anybody to coordinate their events. They didn't have anybody writing their press releases. So I kind of was the first one to really start working out a system for them.
How is public relations different from advertising?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I think you have to maybe think differently. I think as a PR person, you have maybe more connection with the people that you're working with and the people that you're really putting on the events for, the people that you're writing news releases for. I think that you have more face time with your audience. It's a more personal sort of face time. It's not as, I guess it's not as manufactured or something as advertising is.